Well done, Joy Barton. You are now the most hated person in the UK, tramping Piers Morgan and half the parliament to the crown. Previously, if you saw Joy's name in the news, you could be sure he either verbally offended or physically assaulted someone, or a bit of both. That hasn't changed. In fact, Barton has only gone further in spreading uncalled for aggression. His latest target is me. I'm a woman and therefore I can't have an opinion on my favorite football team. So said Joy Barton. Before we try to find out what is wrong with the ex-player, please take a moment to support our channel. Like the video, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Your support keeps us going. If Joy Barton got 3 points for every insult he makes, he'd win more Premier Leagues than Sir Alex Ferguson. But as if he wasn't edgy enough, he's found a new target for his misdemeanor: women's football, female pundits, and the entire female gender. Being the arbiter of truth, he fired off the following message on Twitter: "Women shouldn't be talking with any kind of authority in the men's game. Women's football is a completely different game. I cannot take seriously a thing they say in the men's arena." It all actually started as a beef with the female pundit Alex Scott, but boy, that escalated quickly. According to Joy Barton, having ovaries makes you incompetent to give an opinion on men's football, or the men's arena, as he calls it. Barton's top target, though, is former England and Chelsea striker Eni Aluko. Like with most of his outbursts, it all came randomly. In one of his Twitter rants, he simply compared Aluko and another pundit, Lucy Ward, to notorious serial killers. How is she even talking about men's football? She can't even kick a ball properly. Eni Aluko and Lucy Ward, the Fred and Rose West of football commentary. The ugly comparison aside, Barton simply can't even trust his own knowledge. 3 weeks after saying Aluko can't kick a ball properly, he called her a really good women's footballer, but remarking she still can't talk about the men's game. At one point, Barton even asked his Twitter followers if they would pay to watch men's football free of women's commentary, and 54% said yes. Think of this what you will. I actually think it would be fine if Barton criticized Eni Aluko for her commentary, because ultimately it should be about merit and not gender, race, or social status. But if Barton is so concerned with the state of punditry in this country, where is the same energy for male commentary? I won't name the names, but when was the last time you heard something insightful from the studio at halftime of a Premier League game? And by the way, the Nonsense FM Talk Sport Radio exists. Despite occasional grunts at Michael Owen, Garth Crooks and Alan Shearer, Barton is reluctant to criticize fellow ex-footballers. And if he does, it seems to be it's because they clashed in the past. Yet Shearers and Owens have more rights to commentate on men's football because they used to play it. Apparently, female football is such a different sport that even the most successful female players and coaches have no moral grounds to analyze Man United's latest result. Can you maybe tell if the number of players, pitch size, ball shape, and offside rules in female football are different from those in the men's game? What is this about football that women cannot possibly comprehend? Personally, the only thing that shocks me is that Barton doesn't use a kitchen joke, because anything else in what he says is laughably predictable. And is it any wonder Barton ran to Piers Morgan to defend his worldview? Are you surprised Barton keeps punching the air hoping to hit someone, just like he used to on the pitch or late at night all across the UK? At one point, Joy's outburst inevitably turns into vile misogyny. He accuses women of virtue signaling, messing with the talent, presumably meaning himself, of using sexuality to get an advantage, violating marriages, and being dirty perfs. Well, maybe after all he should have just cracked a kitchen joke and been done with it. But suppose you're a man and don't subscribe to Barton's vision of how things should be. Joy has a word for you. You're an eunuch. You only wonder if he learned it the same day. Maybe you could understand if Joy took an issue with a fellow pundit who just turns out to be female, but petty beefs would be too small for a big man like him. So Joy unholstered his minigun and opened the fire. But again, are you really surprised by this? After all, Barton is no stranger to beating up his teammates to bruises. It's the same Joy Barton who once punched a man 20 times and broke a teen's teeth. When Joy's brother murdered a black man in a racist attack, Barton shook the incident off as a f***ing scrap and nothing more. No, Joey Barton clearly doesn't mind displaying his nasty side. He literally did it once by mooning the crowd. Is this where his ingenious ideas come from? Maybe we'll just misunderstand Joy, and he's so incomprehensible that even Hegel would be jealous. But any attempt to try to know him bumps into a torrent of abuse, unless you're a fellow nobility like Piers Morgan. Maybe all he wants is to promote his new podcast called Common Sense with Joy Barton, but even Nicholas Anelka's career makes more sense than Joy Barton's ramblings. Barton didn't have a podcast when he made his vile attacks on people in the past, whether in his playing or coaching career. He didn't have a podcast when he compared his team's defeat to the Holocaust. If Joy Barton still shook someone, maybe that's because it takes a criminal mind to explain his actions and the world isn't full of first-class detectives. He isn't even a character playing a role. Roy Keane used to be one crazy fella on the pitch, but he's amicable on the TV screen. And by the way, Keane was 10 times the player, Barton never was. Graham Souness seems like a genuinely fine man despite his occasional obsession with Paul Pogba. Hell, even Gabby Abganalahor just provides sound bites for TalkSport. And as for Joy Barton, he doesn't play a role, unless you consider thuggery part of his brilliance scenario. No matter how often he cites Nietzsche and 13th century poets, this doesn't make his pseudo-intellectual shtick anything more than that. Of all people, Thiago Silva probably summarized Joy Barton best, when Barton found it convenient to call the PhD captain Thiago Silva an overweight ladyboy for literally no reason. The Brazilian responded. There's a Marcel player, I cannot remember his name, an Englishman. He said bad things about Neymar, David Beckham, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Because no one is talking about him. It seems fun for him to criticize great players so people know he exists. That's it, this is Joy Barton for you. Don't you dare not to talk about him. He's actually been not a bad coach, although quite a few fans at Bristol Rovers found him too much for their liking. Joy has even picked up the Manager of the Month award a few times, and if you wonder who's gonna touch him now, Fleetwood Town and Bristol Rovers took a chance on him while being fully aware of his history. In the end, Barton is not without talent, but his mean streak is impossible to ignore, and lack of attention would be the end of the world for Joy. But just as he is too toxic, don't be surprised when he lands into another League One job soon. Or maybe he just wants a crack at a job in female football. What is your opinion on Joy Barton? Let us know in the comments and share the video with your friends so more football fans can watch it. Thank you for your support. See you in other videos.